All right, folks. I think we're about ready to start the show. Sherman Ray, this is the Livin in Vegas podcast. Let's get going. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Sherman Ray. This is the Livin in Vegas podcast. We come to you each and every morning, folks. Well, no, actually not anymore. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, we come to you and we talk about the people, the places, the trends, the events that shape the city of Las Vegas, folks. When you think of living in Vegas, think living local and their turn of cool. That's right, folks. I'm once again, it's a Monday discombobulated, crazy weekend, and we are going to talk about some of the coolest stuff that happened this weekend. This was one of those weekends which was epic. I mean, you've got to. I mean, if you were in Las Vegas this weekend, especially Sunday, this was probably one of the biggest weekends we've had in a long time. Other than we had the draft here. We had, that kind of weekend. Same sort of thing. It was just one of those busy weekends. We'll talk about that in just a second. I want to welcome all of our friends who are watching us on Facebook. You're watching us on YouTube. I'm Sherman Ray. I'm the Livin in Vegas publisher, and publish a magazine called Livin in Vegas. We publish Livin Weekly magazine. Matter of fact, I want to apologize to some of our friends. Let's put the picture of Livin in Vegas first. Okay, there you go. So that's the cover of Livin in Vegas magazine, and on the cover of that is Nathan Hall, and he's the brewmaster over at Bad Beat Brewing. And so you can actually go to our website at Livin in Vegas magazine, livininvegas.com. You can actually get this magazine. And Nathan's a great guy. You really have got to go out there and check it out. Plus all the other articles that we've got on there. And I think we even have a a series of articles about hiking in Las Vegas. And if you've been a part of the monsoon season in the last couple of weeks, some of those hikes have turned into scary places because of all the water that's out there. Yeah. But check that out. Go to livininvegas.com. You can check that out. Also, we publish another magazine, and it's called Livin Weekly magazine. And so this is the apology. Here comes the apology. So Livin Weekly magazine. Just put the cover up there. There we go. So Livin in Vegas. It will be out today. Okay. It was supposed to have been out Friday. Incredibly busy weekend. We had a interview that went really long during the weekend, or Friday, and that was with Bree and Sam. Sounds like a band, doesn't it? Bree and Sam. And so when we did their interview, it was just the transcription of it was just horrendous. Plus all the other things. But here's the cool thing: we have an article in the magazine. In Livin Weekly magazine, which is about the Las Vegas Aces. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. This was a prophetic. I love being prophetic. I'm a prophet of the. We got to change my name to the Prophet of Prophet of Vegas, because on the cover is Kelsey Gray, and Kelsey Gray this weekend. Come on, baby. If you watched the game this weekend, it was fantastic. It was just incredible. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So and plus a bunch of other articles. But I didn't get it out Friday because of so much transcription we had to do with the articles that we were doing and graphics. But that is actually the cover of it, and I wanted to make sure I had the cover up so you can actually check that out. So I want to welcome all of our friends. Oh, so you can go to livininvegas.com. Once again, go to livininvegas.com, pick up this magazine. Okay. Let's pay some bills, and then we're going to welcome all of our friends from who are joining us on Facebook and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll be back in a second. Hi, everybody. It's Sherman Ray for Livin in Vegas podcast. Are you a business owner that's looking to get the word out about his product, service, or even just a great message out there? Well, we'd like to give you that opportunity by being a guest on Livin in Vegas podcast. It's super simple. All you've got to do is contact us at advertising@livininvegas.com. That's advertising@livininvegas.com, and we'll schedule you for an interview on Livin in Vegas podcast. I'm Sherman Ray for Livin in Vegas podcast, where we talk about the people, the places, the trends, and the events that shape the city of Las Vegas. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, folks, we are back. This is Sherman Ray. This is the Livin in Vegas podcast. I was able to actually get all of our Facebook pages up too. So that's what happens when we go to commercial breaks, is we're able to, do stuff like that. But anyways, let's get to one of our top stories right now. Okay, I really want to get to it right now because it's on the front cover of Livin Weekly magazine, and it is the story about the Las Vegas Aces, folks. They were on fire this weekend. Okay. So got home from church Sunday and immediately turned on the basketball game to see what the score in the girls' game was, and found out that the Aces were. When I got home, the Aces were. It was at halftime. Aces were behind by 1 point. Okay, so who they even play this weekend? Make sure. So they played against Seattle. Okay, so so they were. The commentators who are just fantastic. Some of these commentators are just country and just as amiable, that kind of stuff. Anyways, we're saying, hey, guess what? The Aces looked like they were going to run it away. Then Seattle came back, and the Aces at this time were tied for first place to be the first seed in the WNBA championship. And the interesting thing about this is if you are the top seed, that means you get to have home field advantage, which is key in basketball or any sport. Being home field advantage means you get to play all your games at home, or at least a large number of them until you lose. Well, game was back and forth. Seattle was up. And Vegas was up. Blah, blah, blah. Back and forth. At the end of the game, folks, the Aces win it 100 to 109. Okay, so we scored more in the second half of the game than we did at the front, and we just pulled away at the end. Kelsey Gray, I think she had, 33 points? Yep, that's right, 33 points. And guess who's on the cover? Yes, we did this magazine cover Friday. So we did it Friday because I love everybody. I love Chelsea Plum. I love Asia. I love everybody. And Dearica Hamby didn't play this game, but they had another girl who came in and did just as good. I mean, did a great job for her. Becky Hammond, the coach of the team, up, animated, excited. The girls were relentless, and so I'm very excited about, and especially Chelsea Gray, who's on the cover of the magazine. She was relentless. And to me, all right, I'm going to go out on a limb on this, and a lot of people are going to be upset at me. They're going to say, hey, Sherm, how can you say this? I think Chelsea Gray should become the MVP of the WNBA. I'm just saying. I put it out there. Just put it out there. It's my girl right there. High fives. Other way. Just saying it. Now, interesting thing once again, and we'll go on to something else. They gave a stat, and the stat was that Kelsey Plum, who is our point guard, and Asia Wilson, who is our quasi center, were the only two players in WNBA history to score, I think it was 700 points between them. Okay, so it's, I think, but because I have people who actually will hold you to that. I've got some people who watch the show, and if you make a mistake, they'll go all crazy. So we want to make sure that we're technically correct. So I will come back to that and give you the exact stat on that, because this is pretty big. So Kelsey Plum and Asia Wilson are the only ones to score as many points as they had in tandem and on the same team. And it was just amazing. And they're scoring phenoms. And of course, Kelsey has scored more points, but it's just by like 10 points more. So Asia's just still doing a fantastic job. So fantastic. Congratulations, girls, that you're doing a great job. So the Las Vegas Aces are the number one seed, which means that they're going to they're going to be able to play at home at least the first couple of games during the playoffs. And I've been predicting it all year long. The Las Vegas Aces are on a collision course for the title of WNBA. Okay, I've been after them for 2 years. They're going to win it this year. Okay. So also the Raiders. The Raiders played this weekend. I mean, I'm sure some of you watched the game this weekend. The Raiders played against the Minnesota Vikings over here. They played here in town. They played over at the Allegiant Stadium. And we won that game. It was a great game. It really was very, very sporting game. Sporting. And we won 26-20. We're now 2-0 in the preseason. That's none of our starters have even played, which is great. So we're doing really good. Backup quarterback did a fantastic job, and looks like we're on it. We're going to have a great year. So I know I've got friends who are not Raiders fans. Now I got to be very honest with you folks. Okay, moving stuff around here on my desk here. I was a Raider fan growing up as a kid. So as a small child, I was a Raider fan. And then, and I was a San Francisco 49er fan too. I know. But in about 5th grade, I ceased being fans of either one of those teams. Not that I didn't like them. It's just that my favorite team became the Dallas Cowboys. It's just the way it is. And so since then, I've always been a Dallas Cowboy fan. And that was in 5th grade, folks. 5th grade, I saw the light. And so, but I've got a friend of mine, and so ever since the Raiders came to town, to Vegas, I've been a Raiders supporter. Okay, a supporter. I don't know if I'm not part of Raider Nation or anything like that, but I do like them. They're our team. They're a Las Vegas team. I love Vegas. I'm a cheerleader for Las Vegas. So during the Raider game, so I've got a friend of mine now who is a hater, though. He hates anything that's not San Francisco 49ers. And I would say his name, but I don't want you guys to find him and try to hurt him, because I know folks on Raider Nation can be very kind of demonstrative. So I won't say his name unless he keeps it up, because he's talking smack now. So he thinks that the candle, the big flame that we have at the south end of the Allegiant Stadium, he called it a trash can. He goes, "Why is there a trash can at the end?" I know, right? So I was going to write to him and said, "Hey, bro, you probably need to cut this down. You really need to, because somebody's going to be. These folks can be pretty upset about stuff like that." So, also during the game, so let's go on to something else. So in the game, they actually had Mark Davis. Is it Mark? Yeah. Brought back the Raiderettes. So many of you know who the Raiderettes are. They are the girls, the cheerleaders for the Raiders. Fine, wholesome women. Fit and very athletic. And so they brought the original Raiderettes to the modern day Raiderettes, the ones that are still around, all these years of Raiderettes. They all went on the field, and they introduced them. Hey, here comes there's 2020, back to 1960, right? And then, so they're getting ready to dance, and some of them are kind of, some of them are older, and some of them are not as Raiderette as they used to be, but once you become a Raider, you're always a Raider. Okay, I just want to say that. Once you're a Raider, you're always a Raider. And so I'm getting ready to watch the Raiderettes do some high kicking, and doing some turns and twirls and stuff like that. And guess what happens? They cut off the Raiderettes right when they were getting started. I'm thinking to myself, what are you guys doing? People want to see. I wanted to see that. I really did. I wanted to see the Raiderettes, old, young, I wanted to see them at least for a second, and they didn't show it, so we were kind of upset about that. Okay, so I want to welcome all of our friends who are watching us on Facebook. I'm seeing people are jumping in and out and stuff like that. If you would like to say hello, don't even hesitate to say hello. I'd love to talk to you, say hello to you, give you a shout out if you've got a business that is that we want to you want to tell me about something like that. So don't hesitate in saying, hey, how you doing? Um, uh, and if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe. You're watching us right now on YouTube. Okay, just hit the. It's right here, right there. Subscribe button. Click it. Go ahead, click it, and subscribe. So every time we do have a new show, you can actually check that out. Okay. Um, what else is going on this weekend? Oh yes. Let's stick with sports for just a minute. And our Aviators. Golly, what happened to these guys? They lost against Tacoma. Okay, we should have beaten Tacoma. I gotta tell you, Tacoma's a tough team, but we were in Tacoma, Washington. We lost 9-1. We've been on a skid the last week, almost 2 weeks of just we've been on a losing streak. And so, guys, let's take a moment right now and pray for the Aviators, and just say, "Oh Lord Jesus, please let them get it together. Okay, let them get it together because we've been on a skid here, folks, and this is not good. We were losing to some teams that we probably should have won, and so we want to definitely keep them in our thoughts and our prayers. Um, okay, let's talk about some local news. So many of you know that we've had this monsoon season, and during the monsoon season, where we've had a lot of rain, a lot of rain. Some of my friends have been washing their cars, so I want to give you a word of advice. Probably shouldn't even think about washing your car for another month, at least. There was a time when I didn't wash my car for like a year because we have such crazy weather. You do the window because you can't see through the window, but that's about it. So, monsoon season is hit, and when during our monsoon season, what happens is that we just get a lot of rain, and there might not rain all week long, and then one day it's like, whoa, just comes down for like 10 minutes, and it's all over the place. And I know on Saturday, no, it was a couple of days ago, there was such a beautiful rainbow. I'm looking for it right now, folks. That's why I'm picking up my phone right now. My wife and I went and got something to eat, and it was quite the spectacular rainbow. Can you see this? I'm going to see if I can. You're not going to be able to see. I'll post it on. I'll post it on our Facebook page. The rainbow we saw was just spectacular. Well, once the rains come, it comes down in such a compacted, condensed time period that it causes widespread flooding. We've had more rain last week, or was it week before, in a 2-hour span of time than we get generally all year long. It just comes down. We might get 2 inches, 3 inches, like comes out. Mountain ranges get flooded, waterfalls, the whole thing. Well, there was an apartment complex over on Karen. It's called Karen West Apartments. And the monsoon season has wreaked havoc on these folks over there, to the point where their ceiling is leaking, and it's bad. It's just really bad. Well, the residents there have been calling upon the landlord to fix the problem and get somebody up there. And in all fairness to the landlords, when you have just a lot of rain, it is tough to immediately address the problem. Okay, because you know what's going to happen. One, you've got to try to get the water off the roof or wherever it's at, where it's puddled up, and then you got to wait for it to dry out, and then you got to do all this other stuff. And so right now they've got apartments over at Karen West Apartments, and they're having problems. They really are. So we'll keep an eye on this, because some people have been living there for years, literally decades, and they're saying, "Hey, this is just ridiculous. Why can't we get this stuff cleaned up?" The same thing happened over the Circa downtown. Water coming through the sportsbook area, just crazy. And then also this weekend, I think we posted a story. about it happening at Planet Hollywood. Planet Hollywood had the same thing where water was coming through, and some of it, according to the technical guys, the AC guys, they're saying some of it is not due to just the rain that's coming down. Some of it has to do with condensation on the air conditioners. So there's been so much humidity, so much, wetness and moisture in the air. Air conditioners have to work twice as hard, and when they have to work twice that hard, they freeze up. And when they freeze up, that drip pan that's underneath your AC unit or wherever water can come out, it does come out. And that's just it's a mess. So you're not alone on this, folks. Hey, let's pay another bill, folks, and we'll be back in just a second for more Livin in Vegas podcast. Sherman Ray, we'll be back in just a second. Hi, everybody. It's Sherman Ray for Livin in Vegas podcast. Are you a business owner that's looking to get the word out about his product, service, or even just a great message out there? Well, we'd like to give you that opportunity by being a guest on Livin in Vegas podcast. It's super simple. All you've got to do is contact us at advertising@livininvegas.com. That's advertising@livininvegas.com, and we'll schedule you for an interview on Livin in Vegas podcast. I'm Sherman Ray for Livin in Vegas podcast, where we talk about the people, the places, the trends, and the events that shape the city of Las Vegas. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right. And Sherman Ray, I'm back. This is the Livin in Vegas podcast, where we talk about the people, the places, the trends, the events that shape the city of Las Vegas. And when you think of living in Vegas, think living local and the return of cool. Many of you folks probably heard about the story of what was going on out at the over at Harry Reid International Airport this weekend. There was a loud sound, and people mistook that loud sound, that clacking sound, as somebody firing, as gunshots, and it threw people into a panic. This was just yesterday. Threw people into a panic. The same sort of thing happened it was on the Strip last week. I think the same sort of thing was happening on the Strip. A guy broke a window, and same sort of thing happened. We are living in a society where everybody's just kind of thinking the worst. Every time something happens, everybody's going, hey, people are getting killed. So this happened over about 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, I think it did. And they said a loud noise. Oh, no, it was at 5 a.m. Loud noise just before 5 a.m. caused panic, largely responsible for the delays and cancellations. And so it can be a tough thing, folks. Just think the best, folks. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get killed. And it's not going to do you any good to run over everybody else trying to kill them too, because you're trying to run from somebody who has a gun. Okay. In town this weekend, folks, we just got a couple minutes left. So Las Vegas has become, once again, the center of the universe for pretty much everything. As a matter of fact, at the WNBA game, who was there? Forgot the guy's name. I had it on the tip of my tongue. There were actually quite a few NBA stars that were at the game. Chris Paul was there, and another guy named Booer. I'm trying because I saw their faces, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this guy plays for this team, and this guy plays for that team." And they're sitting courtside watching the girls play, which is great. Now, the interesting thing about this is I remember watching the Aces play over at the Mandalay Bay a couple of years ago, and you could throw a rock and miss everybody. You wouldn't hit anybody. And yesterday, the game was so packed. Yesterday, they set a record for the number of people who were at the game. And it was like 10,000. It was packed. It was to capacity. Over 10,000 people showed up at the game, which is just for a basketball player or for somebody who is in any sports to have a packed stadium is just raucous. And of course, they were loud. Also, this weekend, students at the Academy of Nevada Ballet, students at the Academy of Nevada Ballet Theater got a big surprise. Dancing with the Stars guy, Derek Huff, made an appearance, and he taught. It was a class that was taught by Don Bellamy, and he actually sat in and he helped teach the class a little bit, which is very cool. Now it's not as though this is the first time he's ever been here, but it's because Derek, I think he's doing a show. Yeah, he's headlining at a show right now over at the Venetian, and it's called No Limit, or Derek Huff, No Limit. But it's just the level of interest in Las Vegas right now is just tremendous. It just is. As a matter of fact, it's a story that we were. I'm just going to allude to right now because I don't have the article up. There's so much going on. There's so much going on in the Vegas. The NIT finals are going to be here, so that's another sporting event that, because we are the sports mecca and we're the center of the universe, we are now becoming other sports venues and attractions are saying, hey, let's go to Vegas because Vegas is open. We're not, I won't even say other places, okay, but we are cool. There's no doubt about it. We've got hotel space, we've got entertainment space, we've got stadiums, we've got several stadiums. We have a way to get in and out. We have an international airline that goes in and out of here. And a lot of these other places, they might be East Coast, they might be Midwest, but they are not Las Vegas. And that's the difference, is they're just not Las Vegas. So this weekend it was just incredibly good. So let's turn the corner because I just got 1 minute left. Gosh, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to talk about? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the drought just a little bit. Okay, I wanted to end on a high note, but I don't have anything else on here that highlight. This is a story from KT or KXNT, one of our radio station links that we go to. Deadline looms for drought-stricken states to cut water use. Okay, and we are going to continue to probably hit on this. This is a story out of this is from the Associated Press, Salt Lake City. Banks along parts of the Colorado River where water once streamed are now just caked with mud and rock as climate change makes the western U.S. hotter and drier, even though this is the coldest summer we've had in a long time. More than 2 decades of drought have done little to deter the region from diverting more water than flows through it. And so I would read, so we'll post to this and you can actually read the whole story. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation in June told states Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming to figure out how to use at least 15% less water next year. Okay, so even more cuts in our water usage. Now I want to say this, and we've said this before. Nevada has been very water conscious. We've been more water conscious than any other state. We are really good about what we use. 100% of the water you use at your home that goes down the drain goes back through the waterways, down through the Vegas Wash, back to Lake Mead, is recycled, comes back. Okay? The reason why we have such a drop in our water, besides the drought, is that other states like California, I wanted to say it, even though they don't want to admit it, they just use a lot of water. I mean, they use so much water. It's an agriculturally rich area, and besides that, they got a lot of grass out there. They just have a lot of grass. So they're using a lot. So the allotment of water that we were originally starting with has not changed since like 1933. Okay, that's really when Hoover Dam was finished. Lake Mead was filled up. We have our allotment of water, and we really have not changed, even though we have like quadrupled or 10 times as big as many people that live here in the valley. So, um, even though we will do our cuts here in Las Vegas, it is not as though we have not done our cuts. Okay, we've been doing a great job. Okay, anyways, folks, we're done. So I want to welcome you back again Wednesday for another episode of Livin in Vegas podcast, where we will talk about the people, the places, the trends, and the events that shape the city of Las Vegas. When you think of Livin in Vegas, folks, think Livin Local and the return of cool. This has been Sherman Ray, your humble servant for the Livin in Vegas podcast. We'll see you again Wednesday for another show. Bye-bye.